Today's homework is on finding unit rates, and so I'm going to work through some of the problems on your homework with you. On number 1, it says $11.49 for 3 packages. So what we really want to find out is how much one package costs. So we're going to go ahead and set up our fraction for comparing our price to our packages. So we know that $11.49 is the cost for 3 packages. Now we want to know how much it is for one package. So what we're trying to find is the price for one package. Now to change our fraction to a 1 on the bottom, we are taking 3 and we're dividing it by 3 to get 1. So that means that we also have to divide the top by 3. So $11.49 divided by 3. And when we divide that out, we get $3.83 or 3.83, which means that it costs $3.83 per package. Okay, so now obviously I'm running out of room here. If you have a piece of binder paper and you want to work your problems out on binder paper to show all of your work, you can do that, or you can kind of move this over a little bit. I'm going to change colors to show you number 2 because it kind of ran into that space there. So same thing, we have 2,550 gallons in 30 days, and we want to know how much for one day. Okay, so we want out of 1 day. So we're going to go ahead and set up our fraction again. So we have 2,550 gallons to 30 days. That's our ratio. And we want to know how much in 1 day. So notice that the days are going to stay on the bottom where the gallons are going to be on the top. Now to get to 1, I take 30 divided by 30. And it gives me 1. So the top 2,550 divided by 30 is going to give us our rate. And when you divide that out, you should get 85. So the answer to this problem is 85 gallons per day. So when you say per, you're really meaning in 1 day. Okay, so same thing here. We did $3.83 per package. It's for one package. 85 gallons per day is for 1 day, and that's what our ratio showed us right here. So let's go ahead and skip down and work out some of the word problems here. The rest of the ones on the top are done the exact same way that we did with those first 2 problems. So looking at number 11, it's the harder of the 2, so I'm going to do that one with you, and then you can do number 10 on your own. It says a recipe that makes 8 jumbo blueberry muffins calls for 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. How much baking powder is needed to make 3 dozen jumbo muffins? So there's a couple things that we're going to have to do first. We need to find out our unit rate, how much one muffin uses of baking powder. So that's our first step. All right, so we know that our unit rate, we have 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder in 8 muffins. And that's what we know so far. Now we need to know how much in one muffin. Okay, how much in one muffin? So in one muffin, we want to know how many or how much baking powder we need. Now to get that, we're going to take 8 divided by 8 gives us our 1. So 1.5 divided by 8 is going to give us how many teaspoons that we need. So when we start figuring this out, we have to divide and we have fractions. So we have a couple of different things going on there. I'm going to switch to a different color so you can see the work that I'm going to do to find out that missing piece of information. So the first thing, let's go ahead and change our mixed fraction into an improper fraction. So 1.5 is the same thing as 3.5. and we're dividing it by 8. Okay. Now, we know that when we're dividing fractions, we need to change it to multiplication and take the reciprocal of it. So this is the same thing as 3 halves times 1/8. Because remember, there's a 1 on the bottom of this 8. Okay, so now we flipped the second fraction and we changed it to multiplication. Now we can multiply across and we end up with 3 times 1 is 3, 2 times 8 is 16. All right, so what that tells us is that we need 3/16 of a teaspoon of baking powder. So that fraction that we got right here is going to go on top of our ratio, or our unit rate. So it's 3/16. Okay, so that's our unit rate like we did in number 1 and number 2. But now the second part of this problem says how much baking powder is needed to make 3 dozen jumbo muffins. Well, how much is 3 dozen? If you remember, there are 12 in 1 dozen, and we have 3 of that. So 12 times 3 is going to give us 36 muffins. So we have 36 muffins. So our final count here, if we look at our ratios that we did, 36 muffins is what we want to have. And we want to know how much baking powder we need. Well, if this is our original ratio, I'm going to rewrite it over here. So we have 3/16 to 1 muffin. So to get to 36 muffins, we are multiplying by 36. So we have to multiply this ratio on the top, this fraction, by 36 as well. So we end up with, let's see. We end up with 108 over 16. Running out of room here. So we have 108 over 16 when we multiply that. So 3 times 36 is 108, and then the 16 stays on the bottom. Okay, so that's how much we need, but that's kind of a weird fraction there. So that's how much teaspoons we need. So we can simplify that down. When you divide it out, you should end up with, you can do the math there, or you can use your calculator to divide it out. 108 divided by 16 will give you 6 3/4 teaspoons for 36 muffins. Okay, so you're going to follow those same steps for number 10, but you're not going to have all the crazy fractions, but you're going to do it just the same. Then when you get to the bottom of our worksheet, number 14, it's a 2-part question. I'm going to get you started on it, but I'm not going to give you the answer because I want you to really be thinking through all of those things. We're going to use the table that shows the average monthly electric and water usage. For A, it says which family uses about twice the amount of electricity per person than the other 2 families. Explain your reasoning. So we've got 3 families here. We know the family size, how many people in the family. We have electricity and we have water. So we're looking at electricity in this problem. And we want to know per person those amounts so we can see which one is using twice as much as the others. So I'm going to go ahead and put an M for Melendez. That's my first family. And go ahead and start making my rates. So this family uses 1560 or 1,560 watts per hour. And it is a family of 4. The Barton family uses 2,130 watts for a family of 6. And the Stiles family was 1,490 watts for 2 people. So what you're going to need to do first is find your unit rate for each of those families, and then you can compare and see which family uses twice as much for their unit rate. So you want to find your unit rate for one person and then compare. Then you're going to go ahead and do part B, and this time it's with the water. So you're going to use the water part of the chart here. Okay, so that'll at least get you started. You're going to have to find unit rates for every family and then compare them to find your answer for number 14.